name is Micaiah Stevens. About a month ago, we did a Steam Award for 2019 video, and I thought I'd do a follow-up because they released the winners. Oh, how do I do this? Sorry, technical difficulties. And then switch. So it's the 2019, 2018, whew, 2000, in 2019. I guess that's how it works for awards. So the Steam community has spoken, and we are proud to announce the winners for the 2018 Steam Awards. Thank you for participating. We'll see you again next year. And they had a short video and did a stream on it. It's pretty cool. I thought about doing this differently, doing categories and then choices, but we'll just do everything out. Be probably quicker that way. Anyway, so we're going to go backwards, or sort of. Most fun with the machine, whether it's a car, truck, robot, or other mechanized contraption. The winner of the award fired on all cylinders, engineering an unforgettable gameplay experience made possible by machines. Anyways, you can see my vote down there as a Factorio. I thought, just working with machines in general is a pretty good idea. It's probably not as popular, but it's kind of an indie mod or indie game, and a mod that's well supported, and they're coming out with a new update here pretty soon. So I thought that was pretty cool. Rocket League is probably no shocks. Rocket League is a very popular game. Maybe I don't think I have played this one as much. Yeah. Compared to a couple like Space Engineer would be maybe a runner-up. I'm not sure what I talked about in my video. Anyway, so there we go. Rocket League. It's pretty good. It's kind of how we'll do a lot of this. The best alternative history. Those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Again, my favorite line. We are constantly being hammered by that line. Anyways, those who remember it just those who remember it just fine, but prefer to reinvent it, are doomed to get this award for 2018's most entertaining tinkering with the history books. Hearts of Iron 4, especially the original ones. Sort of, they have what would you call it? They had the sort of standard history, Japan attacks America, stuff like that, sort of through their policies in World War II. And anyway, and then they came out with this alternative, but yeah, Assassin's Creed's, excuse me, Assassin's Creed does seem like I think it would have been my runner-up, or Fallout 4 maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't really followed the Assassin's Creed storyline, but it sort of is. Maybe it's a little bit more different, but I mean, it's pretty awesome. Through the assassin storyline, especially through like Egypt was I was thinking about picking up that just the walkthrough of the just the world, because it's so beautiful. So anyway, so it's I think we were talking about that. I'm not saying I called these or anything. We'll see if we didn't. Anyways, better with friends. There are some games out there that aren't just the same when you play by yourselves. Maybe you need to have a friend to watch your back. Maybe you need to have a friend that you can stab in the back. Either way, mirth is awaiting those who gather friends to play these games. I still stand by my Overcooked 2. Speaking of colonies, it's a much more fun game, I think, in terms of gameplay and the craziness that's going on. A lot of these others are just first-person shooter. Moonrise haven't really. It's Dead or Deadlight. But anyway, so a lot of those are they're all four or five of those are just first-person shooters, and it's like, sure, like Rainbow Six Siege is kind of cool, and versus strategic gameplay versus some of these others are just kind of blah. But Overcooked 2, I think, is better, with friends. I mean, it's like you don't have to play these first-person shooter games by yourself. It's better. You do much more competitive, but Overcooked 2 it just seems like it's so much better. There's no online component too. All these other games have online matchmaking components, and that just really, as far as I'm aware, I don't know all of them. But in terms of tactical strategy game, the Rainbow Six series is probably a little bit better than, say, Payday 2. Although my buddies loved Payday 2, and so they group up, and these games, it's sort of a big difference. So as these games do become a lot better, these tactical strategies and Payday 2 if you have a group of friends that know what they're doing because they can just easily wipe up the competition. But and then it's like maybe it's the stabbing in the back or whatever. But Overcooked 2 seems just for me is just hands down just funner. It's fun to watch. It's fun to enjoy. Maybe I should do more of those. Anyway, so the next category is best environment. As these chatty cutscenes, all these reminders that they need a health pack again. Let's face it, characters are overrated. As this winner illustrates, sometimes breathtaking scenery tells a better story than 1,000 big worth heroes. Anyway, so definitely I can see the Witcher 3. Well, I guess we should talk about Subnautica. Subnautica was my vote. I still think Subnautica is amazing in terms of the environment, and it's an environment we haven't seen before. I think Rorex was talking about it. Just did a video a day about this, and it's pretty awesome. Where it's like she's talking about the also too. It's sort of a game that's not afraid to use colors and all sorts of things. Yeah, and so I can see why Witcher 3 won. The Witcher series has always been a really awesome environmental game. It's got CG Project Red is really good. They've got a ton of it's like a really in-depth. I haven't really got into it as much, but it's just my personal take on the game, and some of the themes of the game are a little bit more mature for my taste. But as far as the world around itself is pretty awesome, and then it's really in depth, and even like Gareth is pretty well put together character, and just really crazy. So I think it has both the environment and but yeah, and then some of the I think Subnautica is sort of the original one was sort of all underwater, and so it sort of suffers from a single environment that I think does really well. And Witcher 3 has grass and snow, and I'm sure it has a lot more variety of environments, cities and towns, and small villages. So, but the expansion pack for Subnautica Sub-Zero seems like brings it to another whole new dimension with another. It seems like Frozen, and I don't remember exactly what's all there, but Brooks. I think she does make a good point about the use of colors and how amazing it is, and there's a lot of it's like you look at The Witcher and it's all hues, and there's not any bright colors. I haven't really played it, so it's kind of talking sort of some of these other categories. Yeah, I'm not really Tomb Raider. It seems I haven't gone through all of that, but it definitely seems like a good runner-upper. But I think Witcher would have been my runner-up. Anyways, moving on. The Labor of Love. The game has been out for a while. The team is well past the first unveiling of their creative baby, but being the good parents they are, these devs continue to nurture and support their creation. The game to this day is still getting new content after all these years. Yeah, we went Stardew Valley. I think Path of Exile was my runner-up. I think Stardew Valley. It's like to me, it's like these Grand Theft Auto. Is like I definitely would say that's a huge disagreement there. It's just like you have thousands of people working on these games, and they have these it's the labor of love comes from not from the game developers itself. It comes from the users of that, and I think too it's like Grand Theft Auto is it's a game that's on the out, and maybe people are confusing this with Grand Theft Auto Online, or maybe Grand Theft Auto 5 is part of the online component, but that does not exclude that. To me is a completely separate game in terms of that component, and that and it's like I don't know about and two the updates too. I don't know about the updates for Grand Theft Auto. Like even No Man's Sky is sort of like yeah, it's definitely a labor of love there for them to have been lambasted as they have, and then and it's like but to their credit they finally have come out with multiplayer and have made improvements to the game. And Grand Theft Auto 5 is just like it's just you're just waiting for the Grand Theft Auto 6. I mean there's no labor of love there that continues. Stardew Valley is sort of it's on its last patch. They are going to come. The developer did it's and here it's like a single developer that's just like you put a lot of love and care, and it's like each of the interactions is kind of based on his artist feel of the game, and it feels real. And yeah, sure, maybe he's talked about that he's coming back to the game, even though he's working on a second game. Start in the Stardew Valley universe. That it's still to me focus on the labor of love. Path of Exile is also a labor of love. That was definitely my runner-up. They have a ton of content, and that's sort of like part of this premise is that there's new content off all these years, and Path of Exile has gotten free, packs, and Grand Theft Auto has maybe been updated, but it's like, yeah, buy the motorbike pack or buy this pack, and it's like, that labor of love from Path of Exile is like almost, it's like I think the short term of it was Stardew Valley, but the long term value, especially considering the support for Path of Exile, is insane. It's been out there for years. It blows all these games out of the water by far in terms of the long-term commitment. So, like Grand Theft Auto 5 is just an iteration. It's the fifth iteration of a series, and all these other like Dota 2 is actually it's not Dota 2 as in there's a second, although it sort of is. It's a kind of a I think of it as Dota 1, although they kind of come out with a excuse me, I didn't mean to hit my came out with a brand new patch that sort of changed everything to maybe 2.5 or what do you want to call it. But Dota was kind of Dota was the original mod or a mod of Warcraft, and then they put it into a Steam-based game called Dota 2. So that to me is not Dota 2 or Dota 3 or whatever. But Grand Theft Auto is Grand Theft Auto 5. There's been 5 iterations of this, and they're getting better, and it does have a lot of but it's just like it's a labor of programming love, where it's like it's all automated and it's not, No Man's Sky is a little bit, sort of like that. But anyway, so oh yeah, so the best developer, we this one was before Labor of Love. We moved it around. So whether it is by listening to their fans, creating something genuine, unexpected, or just delivering on the premise of a truly good game, this studio absolutely crushed in 2018, and we covered up the winner here because this is actually a different one, partly because we got CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Rockstar Games, and Digital Extremes LD. And we believe we chose Paradox. Yeah, so Paradox is definitely. Anyways, the final 5 here: Square Enix, Capcom, Paradox, Official, woo, Bandai Namco, and Klee. I think Paradox is definitely the best studio for 2018. They've really, they've not partaken into the like Ubisoft and Bethesda and Rockstar and all these other companies, and I'm not sure about Bandai, but or Digital Extremes, but those Ubisoft and Bethesda, and let's see, where's what are we talking here? Oh yeah, Bethesda. I mean, Bethesda would have won it hands down, but they came out with Fallout 76 and just ripped their company. Went from top notch company to the ground, to the rock bottom. And Square Enix is probably a good runner-up on this. I call that Klee, I think, in my runner-up. So Paradox to me is just they're coming out with games. Some of their DLC policies are a little people are a little much on them. We're just coming out with constant updates that cost money. But for me, it's a kind of a hit and miss where it's like if I enjoy the game, yeah, pay for the content. As Cool 18 says, who's a big fan of Paradox, probably because he's been flown out by them all the time. But he does love their type of games, and they have so many like Stellaris and City Skylines, and now Imperator Rome is coming out pretty soon. So yeah, it's a reasonably priced games. They're not $59.99. They're that's like $20 in DLC right there, just off the top. And I think Imperator Rome is $39.99. I thought about it, but it's just not the type of game I really play a lot. There's sort of it's like Civilization. It's just a time-consuming game that But I would love to play. I do, but I have been playing a lot of Stellaris, a little bit of Stellaris lately. Klee is definitely a. We'll have to see. They're kind of getting into a bigger. I definitely enjoy an Oxygen Not Included, although it's changed quite a bit since the original one. Yeah, and they are really becoming a nice company, and hopefully they won't become overwhelmed. Ubisoft is. I don't think they're doing terrible. They have Assassin's Creed. They're sure doing some DLCs. They are getting caught in some of these things. They're just as the companies get bigger, I think they just try to make more money. But Square Enix is like they could be considered. That should be a third runner-up. Well, CD Projekt Red also as well, but we're ignoring that for some reason. Anyway, Square Enix is also a huge thing. It's kind of watching as Heels versus Babyface. As we've been talking about this a lot. They Final Fantasy 14, their MMO, second MMO or whatever. They came out with it. Then it said, "Hey, it sucks. We see that," and they brought in a new team, new leadership team, and the team said, "Hey, instead of saying, 'Hey, let's ship this as is, we'll fix it in post,' they're like, 'Hey, I need to take this project back to back to source and fix it,' and that's what they did. And now it's like they've been. Anyways, there's a best developers proved to be a highly contested category with lots of close calls among the top nominees. As a result, we expanded the set of nominees to 10. In addition, we excluded ourselves from this category. We appreciate the love you've shown us, but we want to hear the other awesome developers on Steam. So we've excluded Valve from this first tally, which is kind of cool. Valve hasn't really, in my mind, hasn't really Dota. They haven't really done anything. They need to come out with episode 3. I would have excluded them just on episode 3. That to me is the original. You can't come out with a game like that and then just be like, oh hey, it's a 3. We're selling you a three pack game, and then not ship the 3 game. Anyways, as no surprise, the best developer was CD Projekt Red. I should have guessed this. They are doing quite well. There's a couple stories that hit the wire recently from, as again talked about these. One of the game designers or game storyboard directors or whatever his title was. Oh, who cares? It's one of the people from The Witcher who's working on the new game, Cyberpunk, I want to say. Anyways, he moved to Blizzard, so it's kind of like a dumb move on his part to kind of go from a company that seems to be having it all to a company that just is like, and it's like, and CD Projekt is getting up there in terms of, they're coming out with Witcher 3. It's the third iteration. They're starting to get bigger. They're coming out with the Cyberpunk game. They really are becoming a good developer. But they're kind of getting to that point where they're too big. So are they going to start going more DLCs, or are they going to start charging microtransactions? It's the bigger they get, the more money they need to make, and they have to milk their customers to do that. So I don't think they're going to do that, but it's like I wouldn't think that Bethesda would do that either. But I mean, that's like the biggest fall on this list is Bethesda. They were, even me. I really, I stopped playing after Fallout 3. But it wasn't because the games were. It just wasn't my type of game anymore. Anyway, so yeah, so CD Projekt Red definitely. Yeah, so the VR game of the year. I didn't even vote for this. Fallout VR and Super Hot maybe, and Skyrim maybe could have been some of my options just from the games. But yeah, Skyrim VR. If I would have looked at this, I would have recognized. I just skipped it because I don't have any VR. Skyrim would be. I've seen quite a bit of talk about this, so it makes total sense. That people would love to play the game in VR with their voice commands from their dragon calls or whatever. Oh, so VR is the Wild West of game design. It's a lawless land of emerging standards where pretty much anything goes. The winner of this world award is not only hugely fun but helps chart a course for the future of the medium. So yeah, it's definitely an experience. I'm hoping AR takes off more. That's my personal take on it. And but it's like a console. It's just honestly a console. Maybe it's cool, maybe it's awesome, maybe it's quite a bit different, maybe it's technology, but it's just a console. And it's until it gets to a accessory for a PC, which it really needs to get to, then that's where it's like you can spend $100 or something and have it hook up to your PC, and but it's going to take a while. But I think it's probably going to be a fad, honestly. It may be expanding. Maybe it might be like Second Life or some other more like VR chat could take over. There's a lot of applications there. AR has a lot of business applications, so those are kind of probably where it's going to continue to feed and improve, and then hopefully it gets the economies of scale where they can start mass producing these things for a lot cheaper. I believe the headsets are 5 to 6 to 7. They're like twice as expensive a console. It's just kind of early adopters. And then too, when they get down to the glasses and it's like where it's really hip and cool, and then we're going to be a little bit worried about the future. Anyway, so the game of the year, maybe it was maybe what's its immersive gameplay or its gripping story, its well-crafted characters, immaculate design, or addictive multiplayer. Whatever the reason, the winner of 2018's Game of the Year award is an instant classic, and I chose Kingdom Come Deliverance. I still kind of sound by that. Monster Hunter World is new. I guess that's sort of something I was thinking about, like when I was going over this in my head. A couple of these, sorry, I want to bring up my chat or window over here about a couple of these Monster Hunter World and Kingdom Come are both kind of brand new. So it's like Odyssey was a little bit, but yeah. So it's kind of like, is it really 2018 Game of the Year if it's just came out? And I think Kingdom Come came out about 3 or 4 months ago, and Monster World about 2 months ago. So it's like it's too new. But I thought Kingdom Come, was a little bit, just really, I don't know, just kind of hit me a little bit better. Monster Hunter World was an MMO, so it's kind of hard to gauge how good it is, and it's really, really, really expensive. These games are, so that's why maybe PUBG, PUBG should have been should have been an instant, instant realization that it was going to be the game of the year. Just, I think, what's the other game? Oh, sorry. There's another game coming out, or just came out, that's like a sort of replacement to this, and it's like, oh man, I was in the beta and all this stuff for it. I can't even remember the name of the game. Anyways, it's another similar online game that's quite popular now, and it's like, I can't even remember the name. It's on EA, and yeah, so it's maybe that's why it's not on this list, because it's EA and Steam are having a battle, so they didn't include that one. But hey, it's like if they're really gonna hold, these are the Steam game. This is the, I guess. We don't have that. Oh no, I guess I'm alt tabbed. Anyways, do we? Yeah. This is the Steam Awards, not the Game Awards. These are the Steam Awards, so maybe that game was excluded. But yeah, so maybe that was the reason why the other game, I'm sorry, I can't think of a name. It's some kind of it was such a different game too, where it's like it's totally. I thought it was a base building game, and then it turned into this you know um, battle arena game, which seems to be battle royale. I don't think it's called battle royale, but that's another sort of that type of game. Anyways, PUBG is definitely like 2017 and 2018 is really kind of taken off. Yeah. There's another one too. Oh, Rust. Rust I was thinking about was similar, but I don't know. It's hard to say with the pub. So, anyways, PUBG is definitely. PUBG is kind of 2017. I don't even know what the 2017 it could have been. Maybe it was just not quite there yet. But anyway, so yeah, so we'll have to see. Unfortunately, Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't know if this is the 2019 can exclude these games, but especially Monster Hunter World, we'll have to see if how it does, because its goal is to have a long-term game. Um, and then I guess I haven't really bought or played any of these games. Hitman's a little too violent. Assassin's Creed, and these games are so expensive. This PUBG is kind of cheap, relatively cheap, but Monster Hunter World's like 49, 59 bucks. Kingdom Come is like plus the DLC already, and then Hitman's kind of old, so it's a little bit cheaper. But Assassin's Creed's like $59.99 on top of that. It's like insane. It's even like and I do want to call that too. Maybe just in talking about games in general, is there is a Resident Evil 2. Let's look this up on Steam, and we'll see if my 25 some odd dollars is available. Uh, so I returned X4 again. If you hadn't heard that, but anyways, the Lunar New Year sale is going on, so check it out if you spend $30 or more. You get $5 off. I was wondering if that includes. There's a whole bunch of games I have for like $5 or $10. I was wondering if that includes. Anyway, so we're looking for Resident Evil 2. How much is this game that's quite old? Um, you know, that's like what 10 years old. Oh no, that's Nautica. What happened? Oh no, I clicked next in queue instead of. Yeah, so this game's $59.99, including 80. It's like insane for a game that's like 10 years old. When did it come out? 1998. Nah, it's just when the storyline was set. But yeah, it's like that's. And then here's Subnautica Below Earth. That's a reasonable price. This DLC. Let's see, how much do we have? Do we have to buy the yeah, Subnautica? You know, the $25. It's like wow. And then look at that color and anyways. So but it's not to say that the people of the fans. Oh yeah. No what? Okay. Well, anyways, apparently I can't verify my age. But anyways, so yeah, so that's just insane, to have that much money. And so I'm glad that PUBG's cheaper. I think it was costing. That was the other thing too about that battle royale game. Um, Man, what is that? What's it? Yeah, it's not Apex, but it's. Anyways, I don't remember. Yeah, sorry. Fortnite, yeah, that's what it's called. Fortnite. Yeah, I was thinking of Fortnite. So, Fortnite's it's a non-Steam game, which I think is probably why it's not on Steam. Anyway, so Fortnite's probably kind of taken over the Steam, taking the Steam out of Battlegrounds, in my personal opinion. But yeah, so yeah, it's kind of cool. So we got the Game of the Year as Battlegrounds. We got the VR Game of the Year as Skyrim. Best Developer as CD Projekt Red, which for Witcher 3 makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think Witcher 3 is on here. Yep, the best environment. So the best character design. There's a lot of you know. Um, we got Better with Friends. Where Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Alternative History is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is Ubisoft, by the way. Rocket League. Here, let's sneak a peek at Rocket. Oh no, I'm sorry. Closed it down. Sneak a peek at Rocket League because that's just one of the relatively cheap game. Oh yeah, yeah. So this is definitely not what I was thinking about. This is kind of more of a car game. There's so many other games that are, but hey, it's like, well, we used to play a old game called I can't remember, Battle Cars or something. Anyway, so I guess it is, friend with a car machine, so kind of like Euro Truck Simulator or something. But I still think Factorio is fun, and I can't wait for their new, it's been out there for so long. Anyway, so that's the Steam Awards 2019. Thanks for checking it out. Continue to comment and like and share stuff on my channel. I think we maybe should get out of Dragoncliff. We've had on to season 2 of Dragoncliff, and our subs have kind of leveled off. I think it's Quillnox. Way back here was a lot more popular. Yeah, 200, 300 views, and then it's. I think this is sort of when it sort of hit the peak of Quillinox coming out. I mean, that was true. I tried to get Quillinox voted in as the labor of love, just because it's like it's just it really is a labor of this guy. These indie developers need more. And they should have a separate category for these games where it's like they have an indie developer category and because it's like how can someone compete with a what was it the environment of these games or the let's see, and the labor of love. How can like Stardew Valley compete with these games in terms of their labor of loves? If it's just going to be the labor of love as how big and massive and like No Man's Sky is a little bit, it's pretty crappy, but it's like it's a labor to me. It's like a programming labor of love where it's all dynamic and cool and that's there's a trillion planets out there and but Grand Theft Auto is just kind of like it's just a it's not a let's look up Grand Theft Auto. just as a $15. It's just $15, and then let's see. Let's look at their let's see their labor of love. Yeah, they have one content for this game. Let's see. They have cards. Yeah, they have the Grand Theft Auto online. Yeah, they don't have any DLC for this game whatsoever, or any sort of continuation of patching. Let's look at their community hub. Um, Come on, and let's look at their. Oh, yeah, yes, okay, yep. Very oh no, we want to look at their news. Yeah, this one, right? Yeah, so it's all GTA Online is really where it's like their labor of love is, and that's not Grand Theft Auto. I'm not sure what the difference is. Is there a Grand Theft Auto 5 on or Grand Theft Auto Online? Yeah, it's all through the yeah. So that's the labor of love. I think is through the online service, not the actual game. So that's just kind of stupid. I mean, and Path. Well, I mean, the difference there, Path of Exile is an online only game, so it's like that's all they do, and they're anyways. So it's like yeah, it's just kind of it's just super popular. So it's no brainer for me, but it's kind of still it's like nah. But they do need a second category of non. Anyways, how would we at? 30 minutes? Yeah, first one in an hour. So I guess. Anyways, they I almost need a non big publisher, an indie, and maybe a publisher, non publisher, like publisher, indie, and then sub indie, like single man teams out there for categories because it's just it's crazy to think of that someone can compete. My company can't. I'm not talking about my company in specific, but Haven Studios can't compete with any of these companies because they're so And then these are just Stardew Valley is sort of, and some of these others are just the outliers of the indie developers. Anyway, so thanks for checking out Steam Awards final up. I think I promised, and I thought this would be a cool idea to talk about. So I'm glad it's out. It's cool. Steam is continuing to be an awesome platform. I'm not going to switch to anything else because I have hundreds of games, and I do, I do think that they really need to put it out in episode 3. They either need to farm it out to have someone else build it. Um, you know, I don't know if they need to build a engine for it or just use the old engine. It's just even if it was a 15 or a 30 minute just a wrap up to this series to say hey you know you know the showcase to the to the and give it out to free as well. Just to just the build the goodwill back instead of just having this you know don't want to do it cut up it's and fulfill the promises and makes them and then too I think that Steam and Microsoft should really work together for the good of PC you know um, and have not just through Xbox or whatever but yeah, and then yeah, it's like but also too in business, the more competition you have for these platforms, the better. So that's cool too. If EA does come out with platforms and other things and GOG and all these other things, but to me, it's hard to sort of have a multiple platforms. But then also, I would like to see multiple platforms in case Steam ever does go down the bad route of you know you know they it's nice that they're opening up their dev community because I mean that's Microsoft is locking down through the stores, and I think it's nice that Steam isn't doing that as much, but they are taking a pretty good chunk, and they are sort of convinced with by taking whatever they're doing and versus a more reasonable platform. But I mean it's it's sort of what it is. But anyways, I enjoy Steam. I think it's awesome. I'll continue to still play there, and hopefully, some of these big companies and they'll, continue to make the market competitive versus, which is always good. Competition. Monopolies are bad, because they just, they people can do whatever they want, but competition sort of gives you a run for your money. Anytime you have competition, you sort of have to, get better, because, if you're not good, if Steam doesn't continue to be good, people will leave, including me. I mean, I'll if they continue to, if they go, I don't think they will, but if they don't compete, then they're going to get in trouble. So anyway, so awesome. Thanks for checking out the Steam Awards for Micaiah Stevens. I'll see everybody next time. Appreciate how long these videos are, but I just thought it'd be a great idea and follow up. And I wasn't trying to say I called out some of these, but I was just kind of, I like to stick to the games that I thought were good and the reasons why. But also kind of, congrats to the winners. I can see why most of them were there, and the ones that weren't, hey, like Rocket League, I guess, would be a good example. It's like more power to them. That's awesome. Take care. Thanks, everybody.